the climate crisis is on track to push 1/3 of humanity out of its most livable environment. There is a concept in science that has to do with where and when people can live. If it's too hot, obviously it's very difficult for people to live. If it's too cold, it's there's not a lot of people living in the Arctic and there's none living in Antarctica, at least indigenous people. I mean, there's some scientists down there, but because you can't grow anything, right? So there's this very narrow window that is what's called the climate niche. It's the space, or it's called a climate niche, and it's a space in which people can survive, people can live without extraordinary measures. And when the temperatures go way above that, then without air conditioning, without electricity, people die. And when the temperatures go way below that, that's problematic too. But what we're looking at is temperatures going way above that. This new study that just came out is just published in the journal Nature Sustainability. And it suggests that more than 600 million people have already been stranded outside of that environmental niche where, of habitability. Over 600 million people. These are the climate refugees. I mean, we're seeing them at our southern border. Guatemala is one of the countries that's being really, really hard hit by global climate change. And a lot of, farmers, subsistence farmers in Guatemala can no longer grow crops. And so they're fleeing the country and they're showing up here. This is happening all over the world. Climate refugees are now a thing. Well, this study that was first published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences suggests that, over the last 6,000 years, we've all basically, we humans on this planet have lived in this very comfortable climate niche, and we've populated the Earth within that niche. But that just 1% of the Earth's surface at the moment is intolerably hot, where it's very, very difficult to live. They're projecting that 1% of unlivable planet Earth, in the context of humanity, will become 20% of planet Earth by the year 2070. And that's an estimate, by the way. I mean, all of these things are coming to pass much faster than anybody expected. If we have already warmed to 1.2 degrees, which has pushed 9% of the Earth's population outside of the climate niche. For every 1/10 of a degree of additional warming, and we're getting 1 to 2/10 of a degree every year, for every 1/10 of a degree, an additional 140 million people are pushed out of that niche. So, FYI, heads up, we need to do something about this. We need to stop burning fossil fuels. I realize the entire Republican Party is still telling us that climate change is a hoax and all that kind of stuff. But now in Canada, you've got New York City. The FAA just put a ground stop on flights leaving for New York City. If you're trying to fly to New York, you're in an airport someplace else about to take off, your plane is now sitting on the ground. They're waiting for some of the smoke to clear from New York because it's dangerous for the aircraft, all this particulate matter. We saw this here in Oregon 4 years ago when they shut down our airport because we couldn't breathe. I mean, it was just, we were all wearing masks and you couldn't buy air filters. Amazon and everybody else was completely sold out. Now this is happening, and we've got 18 states, I believe, 18 American states right now that are blanketed in this poisonous smoke coming from the Canadian wildfires. And this is just the beginning of the summer. I mean, there are 160 wildfires burning in Canada right now. Canadian officials say the country is shaping up for the worst wildfire season on record. Most of this is in Ontario and Quebec, but it's also happening in Alberta and Saskatchewan. In total, 100 million people around North America, that's both Canada and the United States, are affected by this. Fires have already burned 3.3 million hectares of land in Canada. That's 12 times the 10-year average for this time of year. Thousands have been evacuated. Fires are burning right now in Quebec, British Columbia, Alberta, Ontario, Nova Scotia, and the Northwest Territories. And I'm telling you, coming to America soon. We had these wildfires in Washington State and Northern California a couple of years ago. I would be surprised if we don't start seeing Montana, Colorado, you know, the northern tier start burning too. And finally, just to put a cherry on this terrible Sunday, scientists on Tuesday, this was yesterday, warned that we are rapidly headed toward the consequences of the climate crisis, specifically the complete loss of sea ice in the Arctic during the summer. The Arctic used to be that, you know, a small portion of the Arctic would open up during the summer, and now we're looking at by the 2050s, no summer Arctic ice whatsoever. This does two things. One, as the ice, which reflects sunlight and heat, is replaced by dark ocean, which absorbs sunlight and heat, it's an amplification process. It's a what's called a positive feedback loop. The more ice is lost, the more the ocean heats up. The more the ocean heats up, the more it loses ice. The more the ice is lost, the more it heats up. You know, it's one of those things that's very, very difficult to stop once it gets started. They're saying that the Arctic could be ice-free by 2040 and starting next decade, just 7 years from now. This is a new IPCC study. It was published by researchers in South Korea, Germany, and Canada in Nature Communications. And of course, you know, the Arctic, the big thing about the Arctic is that it regulates the weather in the Northern Hemisphere. And with the sea ice gone, you can expect to see more of these heat domes, a wilder jet stream, a more out-of-control jet stream, and just, the kinds of extreme weather, more tornadoes, more severe storms, more high winds, more floods, more droughts. Just all of these weather extremes are going to be amplified tremendously by this. Another reason why we need to say to the Republicans, stop lying about fossil fuels, stop sucking up to the fossil fuel billionaires. It's time to do something in this country, and do it soon. And around the world as well. We need to support efforts around the world.